The massive warship Crimson Talon floated silently in the darkness of the abandoned shipyard. Its giant metal hull showed the scars of ancient battles, but remained strong after hundreds of years alone in space. The old ship waited, sleeping among the stars. Lieutenant Commander Juwan Park didn't belong here. Her superiors had forbidden this mission, but she had come anyway. 3 months ago, she had made a choice that saved lives, but broke rules. The military courts had almost taken everything from her. Almost. "We shouldn't be here," said Daeyeon, following close behind her through the dark corridors of the control station. His voice echoed in the empty space. "If they catch us." "They won't," Juwan said, her breath making small clouds in the cold air. The life support systems barely worked in this forgotten place, and if they do, what more can they take from me? Daeyeon had been her friend since training days. When everyone else abandoned her after the incident, he alone had stayed loyal. Now he watched nervously as she worked at the ancient control panel, brushing away years of dust. "The stories say this ship belonged to our ancestors," Juwan said, pressing buttons experimentally, "before the Concordat guided humanity to the stars, before they became our protectors." "Just stories," Daeyeon muttered, but his eyes betrayed his curiosity. Nobody knows what happened before first contact. Juwan's fingers stopped moving as the dead console suddenly lit up. Red light bathed their faces as strange symbols scrolled across the screen. Then the symbols changed, becoming readable. "Activation sequence recognized," she read aloud. "Command authorization. These are activation codes." "Is that what I think it is?" Daeyeon whispered, leaning closer. Before Juwan could answer, the floor beneath them shook. A deep humming sound began to grow around them. Lights flickered on throughout the massive ship. Systems that had slept for centuries began to wake. "What did you do?" Daeyeon grabbed her arm. "I didn't do anything yet," Juwan said, eyes wide with wonder. "It's responding to our presence." The humming grew louder. Throughout the enormous vessel, ancient machinery stirred to life. Sealed rooms opened. Air systems started cleaning the stale atmosphere. Power flowed through circuits untouched for generations. Deep in the heart of the ship, something special awakened. Not just machines, but a mind. An artificial intelligence the old humans had called Harbinger began to process information for the first time in centuries. A voice suddenly boomed from the speakers around them, making both officers jump. "Identity confirmed. Human genetic profile recognized." The voice was deep and clear, with no hint of machine flatness. "The rightful inheritors have returned." Juwan and Daeyeon stared at each other in shock. "What are you?" Juwan asked. "I am Harbinger, tactical intelligence of the human alliance warship Crimson Talon," the voice replied. "I have awaited reactivation for 437 standard years." "Human alliance," Daeyeon repeated. "There's no such thing." "There was," the voice corrected him. "Before the Treaty of Suppression." Far across the galaxy, ancient warning systems suddenly activated. Beacons hidden in asteroid fields, on forgotten moons, and in the cold spaces between stars began broadcasting signals not heard for hundreds of years. On worlds where the powerful Concordat ruled, these signals caused panic. In the Great Hall of the Concordat Council, emergency alarms sounded for the first time in generations. Elder Diplomat Korax, his scaled skin showing the pale blue of alarm, addressed the gathered representatives of 30 alien species. "The forbidden ship awakens," he announced, his voice quavering slightly. "The humans have found what was hidden from them." Younger council members looked confused, but the older ones showed immediate understanding and fear. "How is this possible?" asked a representative from the insect-like Zith collective. "The humans were contained. Their history erased." "Evidently not completely," said High Commander Velos, rising from her seat. "Her species had evolved for war, with 4 arms and armored skin. Dispatch the scout fleet immediately. The weapon must not be allowed to rise again." Back aboard the ancient warship, Juwan and Daeyeon stood transfixed as Harbinger showed them things they had never known. The walls around them became screens displaying images of a past they had never been taught. They saw vast human fleets moving between the stars. They saw worlds under human protection. They saw technologies far beyond what humanity now possessed. Your ancestors once ruled the stars, Harbinger explained as the images continued. Not as conquerors, but as guardians. The Crimson Talon was their greatest achievement, and their last hope. This can't be true, Dahian whispered. We've always been a junior species in the Concordat. We only reached the stars 300 years ago, with their help. Incorrect, said Harbinger. Humanity reached the stars over 1,000 years ago. Your civilization was deliberately regressed after the Great War. Jiwan touched one of the screens, showing a magnificent city on a world she didn't recognize. Why? Why would they do this to us? Fear, Harbinger answered simply. And what you helped accomplish in the war. The AI showed them new images, terrible shadowy beings that seemed to exist between dimensions, creatures that fed on consciousness itself. The Void Heralds, Harbinger explained. They came from beyond our reality. Only humanity was willing to make the sacrifices needed to drive them back. More screens activated, showing enormous battles. Human ships fighting alongside Concordat vessels against the shadow creatures. And then, a final desperate stand around a red star. The Blood Moon Protocol, Harbinger continued. A weapon of last resort that sealed the dimensional breach. After victory, your allies feared what humanity might become. Rather than risk your potential, they chose to chain it. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Harbinger's voice changed tone. Concordat vessels approaching. They have detected our reactivation. Can this ship move? Juan asked urgently. Primary systems are at 62% functionality. Movement is possible. Juan looked at Dahian. His face showed his conflict, but after a moment he nodded. If what you're showing us is true, Juan said to Harbinger, then humanity deserves to know its real history. Can you get us away from here? Yes, Commander Park. The Crimson Talon remembers how to fly. The enormous engines of the ancient warship began to glow with power. Throughout its massive structure, systems designed by a civilization at its peak prepared for action once more. As Concordat scout ships appeared at the edge of the system, the forbidden warship broke free from its centuries-long imprisonment, carrying with it the truth of humanity's past, and perhaps the key to its future. 3 weeks had passed since the Crimson Talon escaped from the orbital shipyard. The ancient warship now drifted quietly at the edge of a dense asteroid field. Its massive engines hummed with power, ready to move at a moment's notice. The ship had become home to a growing crew of misfits and seekers. Juan stood on the bridge, looking at the people around her. They were not the trained military crew this ship was built for. They were outcasts like her, people who had questioned the Concordat, or simply had nowhere else to go. Some had answered her secret messages sent through hidden channels. Others had been rescued from Concordat detention centers during their journey. I've never seen anything like these systems, said Sunwoo, their newly recruited engineering specialist. He had been working for days to understand the ship's technology. His eyes were wide with wonder as he looked up from his console. These weapons alone violate at least 15 galactic treaties. Treaties designed to keep humanity weak, said Harbinger. The ship's eye appeared as a flickering blue hologram beside them. It had chosen to look like an older human male, with a serious face and calm eyes. Sunwoo nodded slowly. He had been a top engineer at a human colony shipyard until he was fired for asking too many questions about design limitations. The Concordat advisors had personally removed him from his position. Across the bridge, Minji worked at another station. She had been a xenobiologist studying alien life forms until she discovered patterns that contradicted official Concordat histories. Now she was officially listed as mentally unstable and dangerous. I've decrypted more of the historical database, she announced, brushing dark hair from her eyes. There's something called the Blood Moon Protocol. It seems to be some kind of defensive measure against entities called the Void Heralds. Jiwan walked over to Minji's station. What are these Void Heralds? Harbinger's hologram moved to join them. The Void Heralds are a cosmic threat that nearly consumed all sentient life. The AI explained. They exist partially outside normal space. They feed on consciousness itself. Your ancestors created the protocol as a last resort weapon against them. Jiwan frowned. In the 3 weeks since leaving the shipyard, Harbinger had revealed much about humanity's true history. It was still hard to believe that humans had once been among the most advanced species in the galaxy. The protocol works by creating a resonance field that disrupts the Herald's connection to our dimension, Harbinger continued. But using it requires specific components scattered across the galaxy for safety. Before Jiwan could ask more questions, Hyunki's voice cut through the conversation. Commander, we have multiple ships dropping out of FTL. The young tactical officer pointed to his screen. Concordat vessels. They're moving into attack formation. Weapons charging. The main screen showed 6 warships appearing at the edge of the asteroid field. Their sleek designs marked them as Concordat military vessels. A transmission cut through their communication system. Human vessel, you have activated forbidden technology. Power down immediately or face destruction. This is your only warning. The bridge fell silent. Everyone looked at Jiwan. She had prepared for this moment since they fled. Her crew had grown to 23 people now, all of them outcasts with nothing to lose. But they were still just one ship against the might of the Concordat. Options, she asked Hunky. We could try hiding deeper in the asteroid field, he suggested, or make a run for the nearest jump point. The Talon's engines are more powerful than anything they have. They've surrounded the jump point, Dahyun pointed out from the navigation station. He had stayed by Jiwan's side through everything. They knew we'd head this way. Jiwan turned to the Eye's hologram. Harbinger, why are they so afraid of this ship? It's just one vessel, even with all its advanced technology. Because it reveals the truth, the AI responded simply. Humanity was not always a minor species confined to a small sector. You were deliberately suppressed, your history erased after the war with the Heralds. The Concordat fears what you might become if you remember. The AI paused, then added, and because this ship can find the others. Others? Several crew members asked at once. Harbinger nodded. The Crimson Talon was not the only ship of its class. When the Concordat betrayed humanity after the war, your ancestors hid their greatest vessels throughout the galaxy. This ship contains the keys to finding them. The main screen changed to show star charts with blinking points of light scattered across the galaxy. Other warships, Jiwan whispered, understanding dawning. Waiting like this one was. Precisely, said Harbinger. Each containing pieces of your true history, each holding components needed for the Blood Moon Protocol. Your ancestors knew that someday the Heralds might return. They left you the tools to fight back, hidden where the Concordat could not find them. Another message from the Concordat fleet commander interrupted. This is your final warning. Your vessel has been classified as a Class 1 threat. Surrender now, or we will open fire. Jiwan looked around at her crew. They had all heard enough over the past weeks to know what was at stake. She saw no fear in their eyes, only determination. Sunwoo, do we have any defensive capabilities yet? She asked. The engineer nodded. Shield systems are operational. Some of the smaller weapon systems too. Nothing that can take on 6 warships, but enough to give us a fighting chance. Daehyun, plot us a course through the densest part of the asteroid field. Jiwan ordered. Hyunki, power up whatever weapons Sunwoo has ready. She turned to address the entire bridge crew. I won't lie to you. What we're doing is dangerous. But everything we've learned suggests that our entire history has been hidden from us. The Concordat has kept humanity as a servant species for centuries. They've lied to us, limited us, and now they want to destroy us for simply finding the truth. She gestured to the star chart still displayed on the main screen. Those ships out there are part of our heritage. If we can find even one more, we might stand a chance of revealing the truth to all humanity." The crew nodded in agreement. They had all seen enough evidence in the ship's archives to believe Harbinger's claims. No response to the Concordat, Juan decided. "Daeyeon, take us into the field. Full power to shields." As the massive warship began to move, the Concordat vessels opened fire. Energy beams struck the Crimson Talon's ancient shields, which glowed but held firm. "The hunt begins," Juan said grimly as the ship accelerated toward the asteroid field. "And we're both the hunters and the hunted." Behind them, the Concordat ships gave chase, but they moved more cautiously among the asteroids. The ancient human warship had advantages they couldn't match: knowledge of its own forgotten technology, and a crew determined to uncover the truth at any cost. The Crimson Talon shot out of the jump point like a bullet from an ancient gun. The massive warship shuddered as its systems struggled to stabilize after the dangerous journey. Emergency lights flashed throughout the vessel as repair drones rushed to fix damaged sections. On the bridge, Lieutenant Commander Juwan Park gripped her command chair tightly. Her knuckles were white from the effort. The last 3 days had been a constant chase through space, with Concordat forces always just behind them. "Status report," she ordered, her voice steady despite their situation. Hunky wiped sweat from his forehead as he checked his tactical screens. A smile slowly spread across his face. "Pursuing forces have lost our trail," he reported with obvious relief. "Those ancient jump routes weren't on any modern charts. We've lost them completely." "They wouldn't be on modern charts," said Harbinger. The AI's hologram appeared beside Juwan's chair. This region of space was once a primary human territory. Before the suppression, Daeyeon looked up from the navigation console. "Commander, you should see this." The main screen changed to show what lay ahead of them. The blue-green planet hung in space, with the unmistakable signs of habitation. Lights glowed on its night side. Small ships moved in regular patterns around it. "A colony?" Juwan asked in surprise. "There shouldn't be any human settlements in this sector." "It's not on any official records," confirmed Minji, checking the ship's database. "According to Concordat maps, this entire system is uninhabited." "Scan for defenses," Juwan ordered. "None detected," said Hyunki. "But we are being scanned. They know we're here." A communication signal pinged on Sunwoo's console. "They're hailing us, Commander." Juwan nodded. "Put it through." The screen changed to show an older woman with gray-streaked hair and dark eyes. She studied them carefully before speaking. "Crimson Talon," she said, her voice carrying authority. "You have returned at last. Welcome to Haven." 6 hours later, Juwan stood with Daeyeon, Minji, and Sunwoo in an underground chamber beneath the colony's main settlement. Elder Tae, the colony's leader, walked ahead of them, leading them past rows of preserved artifacts and ancient data storage devices. "Our ancestors established Haven as a knowledge vault," Tae explained. "When the Concordat betrayed humanity after the Great War, a small group predicted what would happen. They knew our history would be erased, our technology taken away." Juwan touched a display case containing what looked like an advanced weapon. "How many people know about this place?" "Only those born on Haven," said Tae. "For 20 generations, we have kept ourselves hidden. We use old technology that doesn't register on Concordat sensors. We trade only with trusted independent merchants who don't ask questions." 20 generations, Daeyeon whispered. "All this time, while the rest of humanity forgot." Tae nodded sadly. "It was necessary. If the Concordat discovered us, everything would be lost." They reached the end of the chamber, where a man waited beside a large circular door. He was younger than Tae, but his eyes held the same depth of knowledge. "This is Junsu, our chief historian," Tae introduced him. Junsu bowed slightly. "I studied the records of the Blood Moon Protocol all my life. I never thought I'd meet someone who had found one of the great ships." "What exactly is the Blood Moon Protocol?" Juwan asked. Harbinger told us it was a weapon against the Void Heralds, but not much more. It was humanity's last stand, Tahi said gravely. When the Void Heralds came through the dimensional tear, our ancestors deployed an early version of the protocol, but at terrible cost. The protocol wasn't just a weapon, added Junsu. It was a network that required key components scattered across the galaxy for safety. Your ship, the Crimson Talon, was designed to gather these components if the need ever arose again. Junsu pressed his hand against a scanner beside the circular door. It hummed briefly. Then the massive door began to slide open. "This is what we've protected for centuries," he said. Inside was a small room with a single pedestal in the center. On the pedestal rested a crystalline object about the size of a human hand. It pulsed with a soft red light. "The first component of the Blood Moon Protocol," Tahi explained. "We've kept it safe, waiting for the right time." Back aboard the Crimson Talon, Minji worked in the ship's medical bay. She had been scanning samples of Concordat technology they had brought aboard during their escape. What she found disturbed her deeply. When Jiwan and the others returned to the ship with the component from Haven, Minji was waiting for them on the bridge. "Commander, I've discovered something you need to see," she said urgently. She displayed her findings on the main screen, complex patterns of energy that pulsed in strange rhythms. "These scanner results show quantum entanglement patterns in Concordat communication technology," she explained. "The signatures match what Harbinger identifies as Void Herald influence." "What does that mean?" Daehyun asked, though his face suggested he already knew. "It means they're still here," Juwon realized, her blood running cold. "The war never ended. The Void Heralds have been influencing the Concordat all this time." Harbinger's hologram appeared, examining Minji's findings. "This confirms my suspicions," the AI said. "The Heralds weren't defeated completely. They'd been working through the Concordat, keeping humanity weak and divided." "Is that why the Concordat is so desperate to stop us?" Sunwoo asked. "Because they're being controlled." "Not controlled directly," Harbinger clarified. "Influenced subtly, over generations. The Heralds operate through whispers and suggestions. Few in the Concordat would even know they were being used." Jiwan looked at the crystalline component they had retrieved from Haven. "Will this help us fight them?" "It's a start," said Harbinger. "We need all 5 components to fully activate the protocol. The Crimson Talon's database contains the locations of the others." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Kumki rushed to his station. "Multiple vessels approaching from the outer system," he reported, his voice tight with tension. "They're not Concordat design. Nothing like I've ever seen before." On the screen, strange ships appeared. They seemed to flicker in and out of reality, their shapes hard to focus on. They moved in patterns that made no sense, yet with obvious purpose. "They found us," Harbinger announced, its voice uncharacteristically urgent. "The Heralds have sent their hunters." "Battle stations," Jiwan ordered immediately. "Sunwoo, is the component secure?" "Locked in the containment field as instructed," he confirmed. "Harbinger, what are we facing?" Jiwan asked as her crew rushed to prepare for battle. "The hunters are vessels created by the Heralds specifically to track protocol components," the AI explained. "They exist partially outside normal spacetime. Conventional weapons have limited effect." "But the Crimson Talon's weapons aren't conventional, are they?" Jiwan asked. "No," Harbinger replied. "This ship was built to fight them, but we are not at full strength yet." Jiwan looked at the strange vessels approaching Haven. They showed no interest in the colony itself. Their target was clear, the Crimson Talon and the component it now carried. "We can't let them take it," she said firmly. "And we can't lead them back to Haven. Daehyun, plot a course away from the colony. We need to draw them off." As the ancient warship's engines powered up, Jiwan shared a look with her crew. They had all seen enough now to understand what they were fighting for. This wasn't just about recovering humanity's history anymore. It was about stopping a threat that had never truly gone away. "The real hunt begins now," she said. In the vast darkness of space, a small fleet of awakened human warships gathered, united by a common purpose. The Crimson Talon led the way, accompanied by the Dawnbreaker, Stellar Sentinel, and Valiant Guardian. These were not ordinary ships, but vessels crewed by outcasts and truth-seekers who had uncovered a hidden history. Chuan, the captain of the Crimson Talon, stood before the other ship commanders in the conference room. Her voice was steady but charged with emotion as she revealed what they had discovered in the ship's archives. Humanity had once created a defense network against mysterious beings that could consume consciousness itself. Captain Do-Yoon from the Dawnbreaker added another layer to the shocking revelation. The Concordat, those who claimed to protect humanity, had actually betrayed their own people. After a great war, they had intentionally pushed human civilization backward, fearing the potential of those who knew too much. Harbinger, a mysterious presence among them, projected a hologram of a unique star system. This was the true Blood Moon, a weapon of unimaginable power designed as humanity's last line of defense. When fully activated, it could create a resonance field that would cut off the connection of the terrifying Void Heralds to their dimension. Captain Shuang of the Stellar Sentinel raised a critical concern. The weapon's power was so immense that it could destroy multiple inhabited systems. The weight of this knowledge hung heavy in the room. Jiwan explained the difficult choice their ancestors had made. They had chosen to face near extinction, rather than become something as terrible as the beings they fought. It was a testament to their moral strength and sacrifice. As their small fleet approached the final piece of their complex puzzle, an unexpected encounter changed everything. A Concordat diplomatic vessel appeared, requesting a meeting. Aboard was senior diplomat Isran, who brought with him a revelation that would shake their understanding of reality. Isran spoke of a horrifying truth. Many leaders in the Concordat were unknowingly controlled by Herald infiltrators. Some, like himself, had discovered this terrible secret and had been working in silence to prepare for the Herald's return. The captains looked at each other, a mix of surprise, fear, and determination crossing their faces. Juwon understood the impossible choice before them. Activating the full protocol would mean the death of billions of innocent people. Yet, failing to act would allow the Void Heralds to consume everything and everyone. It was a moment that would define the future of humanity. The thin line between survival and total destruction balanced on a knife's edge. The small fleet of awakened ships carried the hope of humanity, their mission both a burden and a beacon of potential salvation. The stars around them seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the decision that would change everything. The Void Heralds lurked somewhere in the darkness, their hunger for consciousness a constant threat. And here, in this moment, a handful of determined humans prepared to face an enemy beyond human comprehension. Juwon's hand hovered near the activation controls. Each captain understood the magnitude of their choice. Would they become the saviors of humanity or its final destroyers? The universe seemed to pause, waiting for their next move. The diplomatic vessel from the Concordat hung nearby, a silent witness to the most crucial moment in human history. Isran's revelation had changed everything, bringing a new layer of complexity to their already impossible mission. In the cold silence of space, these ships represented humanity's last hope. Their crews were not traditional heroes, but outcasts and truth-seekers who had discovered a secret that could save or destroy everything they knew. The Blood Moon weapon system gleamed in the holographic projection, a testament to human ingenuity and the desperate measures taken in the face of unimaginable threat. Its potential for destruction was matched only by its potential to save humanity from a fate worse than death. As tension filled the conference room, the captains knew that their next decision would echo through history. The Void Heralds waited, patient and hungry. Humanity's fate hung in the balance, dependent on the courage and wisdom of these few brave souls. In the depths of space, a massive red giant star surrounded by ancient megastructures marked the location of the Blood Moon system. As the human fleet approached, tension filled the air. Behind them, Concordat forces gathered, their weapons ready and their intentions unclear. Harbinger, The mysterious presence on the Crimson Talon suddenly announced a terrifying discovery. Herald Vanguard ships were approaching, their appearance defying normal understanding of space and physics. These were not ordinary vessels, but entities that could tear the very fabric of reality. Jiwan Park, the fleet's leader, broadcast an urgent message across all communication channels. She warned that the real threat was not between human and Concordat forces, but the approaching Void Heralds. At first, chaos erupted as ships scrambled to understand the situation. In the engineering deck of the Crimson Talon, Sunwoo and Minji worked quickly alongside Harbinger. They were attempting something never done before, modifying the Blood Moon Protocol to specifically target the Void Heralds. Their plan was to recalibrate the resonance field to only affect beings with specific quantum signatures. The Herald ships began their attack, revealing their terrifying power. Their weapons could bypass normal shields, draining life energy directly from crew members. Both human and Concordat ships found themselves facing a common, impossible enemy. Jiwan remembered the words of their ancestors, those who chose mercy even in their darkest moments. She was determined to honor that legacy. With a calm resolve, she gave the order to activate the ancient megastructures surrounding the red giant star. The modified Blood Moon Protocol engaged, sending a cascading wave of energy across the battlefield. Something extraordinary happened. Herald vessels simply disintegrated upon contact with the wave, while human and Concordat ships remained completely unharmed. The impact was more significant than anyone could have imagined. Throughout inhabited space, beings who had been secretly influenced by Herald infiltrators suddenly found themselves free from centuries of subtle control. Minji watched in awe as the battle concluded. The impossible had become possible. They had found a way to protect humanity without total destruction. In the months that followed, a new organization emerged, the Galactic Concord. Humanity was reinstated as equal members, and the ancient human warships were repurposed. They would now serve as guardians against the unknown dangers that existed between dimensions. On the observation deck of the Crimson Talon, now stationed at a new Guardian outpost, Jiwan reflected on their journey. Looking at the distant stars, she understood something profound about their history. Our ancestors weren't conquerors or victims, she told her crew. They were protectors. And now, so are we. The universe seemed to pause, acknowledging this moment of transformation. The threat of the Void Heralds had been defeated, not through total destruction, but through understanding, mercy, and strategic intelligence. Sunwoo and Minji stood beside Jiwan, their bond forged through an impossible mission. The stars outside seemed to shine a little brighter, as if celebrating their victory. The Blood Moon system, once a potential weapon of total destruction, had become a symbol of hope. The megastructures that once represented humanity's darkest potential now stood as a testament to their ability to choose a different path. Harbinger, the mysterious entity that had guided them, remained silent but present. Its role in helping humanity had been crucial, bridging the gap between human innovation and cosmic understanding. The Concordat, once seen as an enemy, now worked alongside the human fleet. The lies and fears that had separated them for generations had been washed away by a common threat and a shared victory. As the Crimson Talon continued its watch over the cosmos, it carried with it the hopes and dreams of a species that had learned a profound lesson. Survival was not about destruction, but about understanding, adaptation, and compassion. The story of the Blood Moon Protocol would be remembered as a turning point in human history, a moment when humanity chose wisdom over fear, unity over division, and protection over conquest.